Administrator Pruitt, Oklahoma Farm Bureau is so pleased to have you as head of the EPA. Can you tell us what is your overall vision as you take the reins, and what can we expect from the EPA?
What's exciting to have Oklahoma Farm Bureau here at the EPA is I was sharing to the group just a few minutes ago, many of the folks that were here, this is their first trip ever to the Environmental Protection Agency. And so I think that's an important thing to highlight up front, is that we seek to be partners with those at the state level. You know, I understand that farmers and ranchers across the country, they're good stewards of the land. They understand that it's an investment, that there's a relationship between taking care of that which you've been blessed with and yield and opportunity in the future. And so I think a lot of times people here in Washington, D.C., regulators, historically have not trusted those at the state level, or trusted industry, or trusted those individuals to do what's right for air and water. And so that attitude is going to be, I think, a big shift here at the EPA to restore that partnership, restore that really essence of working together. And so that's something I'm very excited about. As far as priorities, I mean, water is going to be a huge priority for us. You know, water in the sense of getting the Waters of the United States rule right. That rule, as you know, has caused great uncertainty for farmers and ranchers across the country, thinking that the EPA has authority to regulate puddles and dry creek beds. Those days are done. That's not going to happen. And so we're going to get that definition right so that people know what authority Washington, D.C. has, which is going to be consistent with the historical meanings of the Clean Water Act and not reimagine like the previous administration did. But I think also in water, you know, investment in water infrastructure. You know, when you look at the opportunities we have in Oklahoma, the abundance of water that we have, particularly east of I-35, you know, making sure that we are working with the state to maximize that very precious commodity, that very precious resource, is something that we want to be, you know, good partners with those folks.
So you've worked alongside President Trump in helping to rescind both the WOTUS rule and the Clean Power Plan, among other things. What does that mean for the U.S. economy, and what does that mean for farmers and ranchers?
Well, I think it means great opportunity as far as job growth. We're already seeing the stock market, I think, respond to a president that says, you know what, we're not going to overregulate, we're not going to, you know, engage in overreach, we're going to trust folks, we're going to do that which is only permitted by the statute. So all those things are translating, I think, to optimism across the country as far as investment and jobs. And with respect to WOTUS and the Clean Power Plan, both of those rules impacted job growth because it created regulatory uncertainty for those that were responsible, you know, for permits. You know, when you have land and you're making land use decisions in Oklahoma, you don't want your first stop to use your land to be Washington, D.C. or the U.S. EPA. You want land use decisions to be made locally and by private property owners. And so when you think about what that's going to mean to the economy and to job growth, it is substantial, because now people are going to once again be able to use their land to build subdivisions and farm and ranch and oil and gas, and all the things that you do from a land use perspective are not going to be in question from a permitting perspective. And then the Clean Power Plan is something that really isn't about clean power necessarily, or wasn't about clean power. It was about a power grab over the power grid. You know, Washington, D.C. saying to consumers in Oklahoma, businesses in Oklahoma, we're going to dictate how you generate electricity. You know, we're going to take decisions away from you on whether coal or natural gas or renewables or what have you should generate electricity. We're going to tell you which one to pick. So it was really a picking a winners and losers approach. And that meant contraction. That meant cost, double-digit increases in electricity rates, which means businesses are spending money on that as opposed to adding employees and growing their businesses. So there's going to be, I think, a dramatic shift on jobs for both, as a result of both the Clean Power Plan withdrawal and the WOTUS withdrawal, and getting those things right for the future.
Farmers and ranchers across the U.S. are excited to now have a friend in the EPA rather than maybe an enemy. How can they now work alongside the EPA to create common sense regulations? Yeah,
great question. In fact, in our dialogue this afternoon, some of your members brought up some of the standards, fuel efficiency standards that are being applied to farm implements and farm equipment. And hearing from them on how those decisions that were made here before are not working is so helpful to us. And so I think that's important. Voice and hearing from those that are impacted day to day, and exercising common sense as we do rulemaking. That's been in short supply here. So that partnership and learning from those in Oklahoma that live this day to day is going to be essentially important.